Because the breaking news, I think you might have guessed it, is that Manchester United have sacked Ruben Amorim. OK, Jamie predicted it just a few minutes ago. He has gone. We understand he met with Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada this morning, and they informed him that he was being relieved of his duties. Right, our reporter Daniel Khan is there at Manchester United for us. Right, Daniel, just tell us more about this, how it's come about.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, just to recap that breaking news, Manchester United have sacked their head coach, Ruben Amorim, after 14 months in charge. He met with the director of football, Jason Wilcox, and CEO Omar Barada this morning, who, as you mentioned, have relieved him of his duties. Now, this comes after his post-match comments after that 1-1 draw at Ellen Road yesterday, where he kept repeatedly saying he is the manager of Manchester United, not their head coach. But as we reported late last night, there'd been increased tension between Ruben Amorim and the hierarchy at Manchester United, especially between director of football Jason Wilcox, and that has led to the United boss leaving the club after 14 months. I told you earlier this morning there'd been a mood shift in recent weeks. This has been building up for weeks now, especially since Christmas Eve, and it seems like it has now come to a result of Ruben Amorim now leaving Manchester United just after that 1-1 draw yesterday. Incredible news this morning.
Yeah, it definitely is, Daniel, and Jamie's going to get involved in this as well. It was very strange last night, wasn't it, when he said, "I am a manager, not a coach." But we know that his title is head coach, and it confused everybody there. He seemed to be taking a dig at transfers. I mean, was he supposed to have a say in transfers? Because normally a head coach doesn't have that much of a say.
Yeah, Tom, I think there's two components to this. I think there's one that I think when he was referencing he's a manager, and he also referenced big names like Thomas Tuchel, Jose Mourinho, Antonio Conte. I think what he was saying there is he doesn't want to be dictated to like these big name managers in terms of their style of play. They will play however they want and deploy their teams however they want to win football games. And as we reported last night, a lot of this strained relationship between Amorim and the hierarchy had been about the tactical approach of the team this season. We know Amorim has always consistently been bullish about his 3-4-3 system. We've seen that tweaked in recent weeks against the likes of Bournemouth, that 4-4 draw at Old Trafford, the win against Newcastle. But then in the last two games, he reverted back to his 3-4-3 against Wolves, Leeds yesterday, two uninspiring performances. And I think there were real questions raised this season around his system. I remember when they played Fulham at Craven Cottage, Marco Silva, Calvin Bassey and Alex Iwobi all talking so openly about how easy it was to play against Amorim's team. I think with a hierarchy that raised serious questions. Grimsby away, although they played a slightly weakened team, continuing with three centre-backs away to Grimsby. Serious questions having gone out of the Carabao Cup at that stage. Brentford away was also a very questionable performance in that loss as well at the G-Tech Stadium. So I think this has been building for a while. Transfers has been a separate issue. From what I understand, that hasn't been the main reason for their tensions. Although they had different strategies about it, Amorim wanted to spend this month, whereas the likes of Jason Wilcox and the likes of Christopher Vell, head of recruitment, looking at transfers, they didn't want to make the previous mistakes of the previous regimes at the club, really risking their future windows, really wanting to reinforce long-term the midfield, for example. We know they have a short list of the likes of Carlos Baliba, Elliot Anderson, Adam Wharton. If they spent this month, that would put moves like that in jeopardy, and that's something, while being sixth in the table and just a few points off a Champions League place, they don't want to do this month. So look, there's been a few components to this, and it just felt like they ended up on the wrong sides of this argument, and now that has resulted in Ruben Amorim leaving the club.
Yeah, it's big news. Daniel will be back with you later in the day, no doubt. Thank you.
But we start with tension at Manchester United, where Ruben Amorim intimated he'll be leaving when his contract runs out in 18 months. Amorim's comments came after his side drew 1-1 at Leeds, where he also said he joined the club to be their manager, not their head coach, despite his job title being head coach. Well, here is what he had to say.
I noticed that you receive selective information about everything. I came here to be the manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach of Manchester United. And that is clear. I know that my name is not Tuchel, is not Conte, is not Mourinho, but I'm the manager of Manchester United. and it's going to be like this for 18 months, or when the board decided to change. So that was my point. I want to finish with that. I'm not going to quit. I will do my job until other guy is coming here to replace me. I just want to say that I'm going to be the manager of this team, not just the coach. And I was really clear on that. And that is going to finish in 18 months. And then everyone is going to move on. That was the deal. That is my job, not to be a coach. If people cannot handle the Gary Nevilles and the criticisms of everything, we need to change the club. No, guys, I just want to say that I came here to be the manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach. And every department, the scouting department, the sport director needs to do their job. I will do mine for 18 months and then we move on.
So, strong words from Amorim there, and we can join our reporter Dan Khan now for more on this story. Dan, you were there today at Ellen Road. Is it fair to say there's tension in the air at the club this evening?
Yeah, good evening, James. I mean, it was an explosive news conference to be in after what almost seemed a bit of a positive result for Manchester United at Ellen Road, getting away there with a 1-1 draw. But as we understand it this evening, we can report that there is growing tension between the Manchester United boss, Ruben Amorim, and the hierarchy at Manchester United, including Director of Football Jason Wilcox. Now, we can talk about their strategy around the transfer window in January in a little bit, but there is a wider disagreement, as we understand, about the team's tactical approach going forward. Now, we know Amorim has been bullish about deploying his 3-4-3 formation this season. We saw him tweak it a little bit against Newcastle and Bournemouth in recent games, but that is understood to be the root of an increasingly strained relationship between Amorim and the hierarchy above him. Now, this has been built up for a few weeks, James. I have to say, being in those news conferences, you could track it back all the way to Christmas Eve when he spoke ahead of Newcastle, talking about how he now understands that he won't be able to play his perfect 3-4-3. He won't be able to get the money or the players for it. So he understands now he'll have to adapt. But there's been other comments. His mood shifted completely on Friday ahead of this game against Leeds as well. And now it seems like we are understanding now the reasons why, and his relationships with those like Jason Wilcox above him, all around the strategy of this team going forward, are clearly not on the same page. And perhaps we're seeing that in the results as well.
And at the same time, the January transfer window is open. So are Amorim's hopes for it anywhere near aligned to what United's club's plans are?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think you have two different perspectives. I think Ruben Amorim, of course, wants his team, like many managers in January, will want his club to spend money this month. If you're Ruben Amorim, you're looking at the table and saying, look, we're sixth, we're, really on track for European football, but we're also just a few points away from Champions League football. So, of course, he wants the board to spend. We also see that they were interested in the likes of Antoine Semenyo. So the question could be, why not use that money put aside for him for other targets? But from the United perspective, from the board perspective, they don't want to make mistakes from recent history, from previous regimes where they maybe panic buy, they overspend and put the club in a precarious position. James, we know, having covered transfers, and of course we're on these transfer shows, Manchester United's target this year is, their main priority is to strengthen their midfield.